IELTS Teacher Learning Course. Introductory video script 4 skills, 2 test versions, 1 9-band scale. Behind every IELTS score is a precise set of abilities that learners must understand, practice, and demonstrate. Welcome to the IELTS Teacher Learning Course, a practical and progressive journey designed to transform accurate test knowledge into purposeful classroom preparation. Throughout this course, we will examine the foundations of IELTS, the structure and scoring of the test, and the methods that can help students prepare for listening, reading, writing, and speaking. The International English Language Testing System assesses the English language proficiency of people who want to study or work where English is used as the language of communication. It is designed to provide a fair, accurate, and relevant assessment based on established standards, from non-user to expert user. IELTS is a task-based test covering 4 components: listening, reading, writing, and speaking. Each component produces a separate score, and the average of the 4 component scores produces the overall band score. The course will help you understand what each component assesses, what learners are expected to do, and how preparation can be organized around clear tasks, methods, and performance criteria. IELTS has 2 versions: academic and general training. Both versions assess the full range of English language ability. Listening and speaking are the same in both versions, while reading and writing differ. IELTS Academic is intended for people applying for higher education or professional registration. IELTS General Training is intended for people going to English-speaking countries for secondary education, work experience or training programs, and for migration to Australia, Canada, New Zealand, and the United Kingdom. Understanding this distinction is an essential starting point. A teacher must know which version a learner needs before selecting texts, tasks, and practice activities. Preparation becomes more purposeful when the learner understands not only the name of the test version, but also the structure, timing, instructions, and expectations of every component. The course follows a gradual sequence across 10 learning modules. Each stage establishes knowledge that supports the next. We begin with the foundations of IELTS and then build a precise map of the test. We examine scores and assessment before moving into preparation principles and component-specific teaching methods. Finally, we connect classroom practice with performance progression and professional development. Module 1 introduces the foundations of IELTS. You will explore the purpose of the test, the relationship between its 4 components, and the differences between academic and general training. You will also consider the international character of IELTS and the controlled integration of language skills within a task-based test. Although each component has a clear main focus, real language use often involves more than one skill. In writing and speaking, information that is read or heard may help shape what the test taker produces. In reading and listening, tasks may require note-taking, labeling, classification, or completion of tables and flowcharts. The central focus of each component remains clear, while the tasks reflect meaningful uses of language. Module 2 provides the architecture of the test. Before teachers select preparation methods, they need an accurate map that includes timing, sequence, task types, text types, instructions, and the skills or criteria being assessed. You will examine the 4 recorded texts in listening and the way the material increases in difficulty. You will distinguish the 3 reading sections in academic and general training. You will explore the 2 writing tasks and the 3 parts of the speaking test. You will also consider the differences between paper and computer delivery, including the time available for transferring or checking listening answers. This knowledge matters in the classroom. Students need to know how much time is available, how many tasks or sections they will complete, which instructions control an answer, and what kind of performance each task requires. Accurate test knowledge reduces avoidable confusion and allows practice to focus on language and method. Module 3 examines scores, interpretation, and assessment. IELTS does not use a pass or fail result. Performance is reported on a scale from Band 1 to Band 9, while Band 0 is used when no accessible information is provided. Listening and reading begin with raw scores, and writing and speaking are assessed through stated criteria. In writing, the criteria include task achievement for Task 1, task response for Task 2, coherence and cohesion, lexical resource, and grammatical range and accuracy. In speaking, the criteria are fluency and coherence, lexical resource, grammatical range and accuracy, and pronunciation. The course will help you use these criteria as a language for observation and goal setting. Instead of responding to a performance with a general judgment, teachers can identify what the learner already controls and what needs focused development. Score interpretation must also be careful. The test measures English language proficiency, and band scores should be considered in relation to the language demands of the purpose for which they are required. Module 4 turns from test knowledge to preparation across the test. Effective preparation is not limited to familiarity with a test format. Students need a repeatable way to approach tasks, practice under time limits, follow instructions, and learn from feedback. Preparation should begin with 4 questions. What is the learner expected to do? How much time is available? What instructions control the answer? What skill or criterion is being developed? Students should become familiar with the format and task types in every section. They should practice timed attempts and learn to read instructions carefully. Assessment criteria should be made visible and used to establish goals. Grammar and vocabulary should remain in a wider context, and practice should help learners build a personal mistakes profile. Teachers can then use the profile to select focused correction and further practice. Module 5 develops a repeatable method for academic writing. Task 1. The response must summarize information by selecting and reporting the main features and making comparisons where relevant. The course moves from reading the instructions to analyzing the visual, choosing the main features, planning the response, rephrasing the task statement, and organizing information clearly. You will examine language for change, comparison, and proportion, along with the role of tense and accurate measurement. You will also consider how an introduction, an overview, and supporting detail work together. The purpose is not to report every available figure. The purpose is to select the information that best represents the visual and present it in a clear, formal response. Module 6 focuses on writing Task 2. Effective planning begins by separating the topic from the focus. The topic identifies the general subject. The focus identifies the precise question or questions the essay must answer. Learners will need to underline key words, develop ideas through a mind map, select relevant points, and organize those points before writing. The course also examines register, paragraph structure, cohesion, vocabulary, and grammatical control. Feedback can use correction codes so that learners recognize patterns, correct their own work, and update their personal mistakes profile. The aim is to connect planning, writing, feedback, and correction as parts of one continuous method. Module 7 presents reading as a progression from overview to targeted search and detailed verification. 6 skills support this process: surveying, skimming, scanning, reading for detail or close reading, inferring meaning, and deducing meaning from context. These skills are not interchangeable. Surveying helps the reader notice the title, headings, pictures, graphs, and layout. Skimming supports general understanding. Scanning locates specific information. Close reading confirms detailed meaning. Inferring meaning helps identify opinions or feelings, while deducing meaning from context helps the reader work with unfamiliar words. The course connects these skills with question strategies. Learners will practice identifying key words, predicting the form of an answer, locating the relevant section, and checking the answer against the instruction. This makes reading a controlled sequence of decisions rather than an attempt to read every line in the same way. Module 8 develops listening accuracy and answer production. Before the recording begins, students should read the questions and predict the kind of information required. While listening, they need to follow main ideas, supporting information, specific details, and speaker opinion. They must also respect the maximum number of words and check whether a number is allowed. Listening performance can be affected even when the correct information has been heard. Spelling, singular and plural forms, word limits, and answer transfer all matter. For that reason, preparation combines comprehension with accurate production. After practice, errors should be classified so that the learner can identify whether the difficulty came from understanding, prediction, following the recording, spelling, grammar, instructions, or answer transfer. Module 9 develops speaking from familiar answers to abstract discussion. Preparation follows the opening sequence and parts 1, 2, and 3, while remaining connected to fluency and coherence, lexical resource, grammatical range and accuracy, and pronunciation. Part 1 focuses on familiar topics such as home, family, work, studies, and interests. Learners practice extending short answers with relevant detail. Part 2 uses a task card and requires a longer individual contribution after preparation time. Spidergrams can help learners organize ideas and language. Part 3 develops a discussion connected to the Part 2 topic and moves toward more general and abstract issues. Speaking practice should help learners develop answers, organize ideas, use a range of language, and remain understandable. The course includes activities that make these processes visible and allow teachers to connect classroom observations with the assessment criteria. Module 10 connects classroom preparation with professional practice and continual development. It presents examining as a professional development opportunity for teachers who are familiar with IELTS and explains the qualifications, training, certification, monitoring, and standardization connected with examiner work. The module also considers accessibility and the role of research. IELTS provides arrangements for test takers with special requirements, and continual research supports the development and review of the test. The qualities guiding this work include validity, reliability, positive impact, and practicality. Across the course, the progression for writing and speaking will help you connect observable performance with clear development goals. A learner does not move forward simply by producing more language. Progress depends on how completely the task is addressed, how clearly ideas are organized, how appropriately and precisely vocabulary is used, how much grammatical range and control is demonstrated, and, in speaking, how fluently and clearly the message is delivered. The classroom approach developed in these modules is both practical and reflective. A task begins with clear instructions and an explicit time limit. The learner then applies the relevant method, analyzing a visual, separating a topic from its focus, surveying a reading text, predicting a listening answer, or organizing a speaking response. The attempt is followed by feedback linked to the skill or assessment criterion being developed. Finally, the learner corrects errors, records recurring problems, and completes focused practice. In this way, every activity has a defined purpose, and every correction contributes to the next attempt. The course also encourages teachers to distinguish between knowing an answer and controlling the process that produces it. In reading and listening, a correct answer should be supported by accurate attention to instructions, relevant information, and careful checking. In writing, ideas must respond to the task and be organized through a clear progression. In speaking, answers should be extended and connected without losing relevance. This distinction helps teachers look beyond isolated results and identify the habits that can make performance more consistent. Throughout the modules, examples and activities will make the methods concrete. Teachers will see how keywords can reveal the demands of a prompt, how a mind map or spidergram can support planning, how correction codes can guide self-correction, and how a personal mistakes profile can turn repeated errors into focused goals. These methods provide learners with actions they can understand, practice, and repeat. As you begin, keep the central teaching sequence in mind. Start with accurate test knowledge. Make timing, instructions, and task requirements visible. Teach a repeatable method for each component. Use examples to clarify the method. Separate the timed attempt from feedback and correction. Evaluate performance through the stated criteria and use the band descriptors to establish focused goals.
This course is designed to support that sequence. It will provide a structured foundation for explaining IELTS, planning preparation, and helping learners understand what effective performance looks like. Each module adds a new layer, but all modules serve the same purpose: to connect knowledge of the test with clear, focused, and progressive classroom practice.
Welcome to the IELTS Teacher Learning course. Let us begin with the foundations of IELTS.